Introducing Dr. Colin Richman, a distinguished periodontist and implant dentist practicing in Atlanta, Georgia. As a visiting clinical professor in the Department of Periodontics at Augusta University, he is dedicated to the belief that periodontists save teeth whenever possible. A pioneer in surgically facilitated orthodontic treatment, SFOT, Dr. Richman has made significant contributions through his clinical work, research, publications, and teaching. He earned his dental degree in Johannesburg, South Africa, and completed his graduate periodontal training at the University of Connecticut under the guidance of periodontology pioneers. Dr. Richman is an honorable fellow of the Georgia Dental Association, the Pierre Fouchard Academy, and the International and American College of Dentists, and a diplomat of the American Board of Periodontology. With a wealth of experience and an extensive portfolio of global publications and lectures, Dr. Richman continues to be a leading voice in periodontics and implant dentistry.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And firstly, I would like to thank SCN's Management Committee for this amazing meeting. It truly is amazing, and thanks for that. So, if we ask the question, why is it that 80% or more of individuals in industrialized countries and New World countries similar to the US have got tooth crowding problems, orthodontic problems, impacted teeth, airway problems, and may end up with unfavorable aesthetic results following restorative aesthetic cosmetic dentistry? And why is it that when we examine skulls of animals, mainly mammals, and we are all mammals, 92% genetically similar, and if we examine skulls of mammals born, bred, raised, nurtured, and dying in the wild, the numbers drop from 80% in our environment to less than 0.25% of one or more of those problems. And this was not done deliberately, but if one wants to evaluate it, there are 3 longhorn skulls up there whose jaws I have examined closely already to add to my collection. And the reason I've done that is that I'm a nerd. And the second reason that I have done that is my kids call me a gunner. And I'm always, why? So let's get back on track. In order to answer those questions of all these problems we all have, and probably many of you in this audience have had that experience with orthodontics and relapse and gum recession and shortened roots and impacted wisdom teeth, there are 3 questions to answer. And there are 3 remedies and etiologies to address those questions. Number 1 is anthropology. Number 2 is genetics. Number 3 is diet and lifestyle. So let's look at anthropology first. Many millennia ago, when we were running around in the wild, before we were human, we had, together with other species running around in the wild, small skulls and large jaws. And those large jaws helped us with our foraging, our feeding, our protection, our survival, and generally those with the bigger, larger jaws survived well. Then we changed from hunters to gatherers. And over the next few 100,000 years, we changed from gatherers to farmers. and then from farmers to industrialized food production, and today to ultra-refined foodstuffs. But about 300,000 years ago, when we became from humanoid to human, we found that our forebrain was growing, because in humans, our humanity, which is unique to humans, is located in the frontal lobe of the frontal cortex of the forebrain, and thus our skulls have been growing and increasing up to and including this time. So we start to see the difference, that our increasing skulls are at the expense of our jaws, which are being pushed down, and which are, through epigenetics, very slowly atrophying. Let's look at genetics. We live in a heterogeneous genetic society. What that means is that in industrialized countries, one more time, we have got a mismatch of our gene pool. Imagine, for example, a big, powerful Scandinavian origin football player, maybe second, third generation in this country, big statured parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, producing a child with a small statured, for example, an Asian gymnast. And those big teeth in the male have a problem fitting into the small shrinking jaws of the female. So I published and defined a new syndrome in dentistry called the dental space deficiency syndrome. Now, with that genetic mismatch, if we go back to that animal kingdom, if we go back to those longhorns, and I have looked at over being a nerd, I have looked at over 1,000 mammalian jaw skulls on 3 continents. That's what we do if we go on vacation anywhere. I've got to find the museum and go and examine the jaws. And this ranges from small little field mice whose jaws are no bigger than a dime to elephant, hippo, whatever else you want. And those animals born, bred, raised, nurtured, and dying in the wild are genetically homogeneous. In other words, the lion in Africa doesn't take a trip to India and mate with a lion in India and then come back and produce babies. They are genetically homogeneous. They are nurtured on their natural diet, and they forage on their natural diet. So with that in mind, we get to the issue of big teeth in small jaws. And today we've got therapies that will reduce that risk using CBCT scanning and various other contemporary treatments for 2024. I'll be happy to answer questions at the dinner this afternoon if there are any. And again, thank you. It's late Friday afternoon, and here we are.
That was awesome. Nice to see you again.
Thank you, Dr. Richman. I was completely riveted from the very beginning by your, I felt like I was sitting in lecture and just completely riveted by your talk. Your use of self-deprecating humor and your improvisation of using your wonderful props behind you was really cool to do. So, and your knowledge on the subject, I'm kind of struggling to find any way for you to improve. I'll leave that up to my colleagues here, but I thought it was a phenomenal talk.
So, Dr. Richman, I too enjoyed it. It's a difficult topic because you're not talking to dentists primarily, so I think you did a nice job of trying to take something very difficult and bring it so that your audience had some understanding of it. And so I think that was an excellent thing to do. Bringing humor into that is a talent. It's a hard thing to do. And so I really don't have a whole lot else to say there. I thought it was a very nice job, and I think for us, I think it was a kind of a good review as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, we need to do a little full disclosure here. we've known each other 25 years, and you know I love you.
Vice versa.
There's no but here, so don't worry about that.
No.
Your strength, and you and I have had this conversation before, your strength is your style. You're a professor standing on stage, and that pulls us in. And professors that can make fun of themselves and do that, even better. But that is 100% your strength. Just stay, you know I'll tell you the truth.
Thank you.
Stay with it.
Thank you. That way. Oh, this way.